Hi, my name's Dr. Beck Tucker and I'm one of the veterinary dentists at Advanced Animal Dentistry. I'm hoping that today I can give you some hints and tips on introducing brushing for your dogs. I do it with my dogs because it's the best thing that I can do at home to look after their gum and periodontal health and keep their mouths as healthy as possible. So this is Maple and this is Hazel, and they're hopefully going to be well behaved and allow us to demonstrate some of the techniques that might be useful for you today. First of all, I guess I do have a selection of brushes here. There's quite a few different things that are on the market, and ultimately it's just finding what works best for yourself and for your dog. Personally, I tend to like, for these guys, using a small human toothbrush, so either a baby's or a toddler's brush. The key things that I look for are that the bristles are extra soft. We don't want a medium or a hard bristle because they can be too abrasive for the dog's teeth. They do have a thinner enamel coating on the teeth than we do, and what I've found is they also just don't tolerate the harder bristles as well as the softer bristles. The other thing is finding something that fits well in your hand. It needs to be something that's ergonomic, and also the head of the brush needs to be something that's appropriately sized for your pet. And given that we have dogs that are from anywhere from a couple of kilos up to 50 or 60 kilos, you might find that a baby's toothbrush is the right size or an adult's toothbrush is the right size if you have a bigger dog such as a Labrador or the likes of that. For these guys, the toddler's brush seems to be a good size. There are some pet-specific ones. For me, they don't work very well in my hands, but you might find that they're sort of suitable for you. We have these ones that are like a triangle that are designed to sort of basically run over the entire tooth surface in one go. For me, I find the head's often a little bit too bulky to easily fit in the mouth itself, and they're just a little bit more confronting having that coming at your face. There's also these that are, I think, more designed to be sort of a catch-all in terms of a smaller end and a larger end to appeal to different sizes of dogs. Again, for me, I find the angle just a little bit difficult to use, but again, if they work for you, they're great as well. The other things that I've got here are essentially what I would consider training aids. So this one here is a little sock that's made of microfiber that goes over the end of the finger. This is something that I've found really useful in terms of acting as a training aid to introduce brushing. Ultimately, it's something that we want to graduate on from once our pets are comfortable, simply because the real action is from the bristles of the brush. And we want to remove the plaque from the actual gum line and slightly under the gum margin. That's where, I guess, the disease or periodontal disease occurs, and that's where the bristles of the brush are going to be much more effective than something that's soft and flat. The next sort of thing I've got here is a little finger brush. These are often made of a soft plastic or silicone and have small little sort of knobs or bristles on the end. Again, I'd consider this the next step up from the microfiber brush in terms of it being a training aid again. It's something that sort of, again, just allows your pet to sort of get used to things in a stepwise progression, but is still not quite as effective as an actual brush in cleaning their teeth. So how do we actually go about introducing brushing? What I find is that most patients or clients that we see have generally sort of attempted brushing before we see them, and most have failed and found it really, really difficult. And I think one of the big problems is that the expectation we have of our pets is too high. We expect them to ultimately just allow us to pop them on a table, grab a brush and start going for it. And for them, that's something that's going to be very confronting. What we tend to do is we want to basically introduce it in a slow, stepwise progression, and we want to desensitize them to each step along the way so they find it hopefully something that's calming and relaxing for them. If it is that, you're not going to struggle and have to fight them to do it, and you're more likely then to be able to implement it as part of your sort of routine at home. So Maple, we introduced that to her as a pretty young pup. That's always really helpful if you do have a young dog, to start young. It can certainly be introduced when pups are older, but it may take a little bit longer for that to occur. The first thing that I would recommend doing is don't even try and sort of grab a brush and start to sort of brush straight away. What we first need to do is make sure that our pets or our dogs are nice and comfortable with us actually handling them around the face. And as you can see here with Maple, she's really not fussed about it at all. And that's simply because we've essentially sort of slowly introduced her to having sort of, you know, us come at her face with our hands, and she's sort of gotten to a point where she doesn't sort of, you know, really sort of get bothered by it at all. When you're first introducing it, what I would suggest is coming from behind. So sitting sort of behind your pet and coming sort of from behind, so it's not a straight on sort of approach. That's going to be a little bit less confronting for them. Hello, Quitches. Yeah. Once they're sort of really desensitized to that, I would then you can then start to come with the hand from the front. And again, you want them to be not withdrawing, not sort of acting there as if that's something that's unpleasant for them, and really sort of looking like it's something that they enjoy. And for some pets, this might actually take, you know, weeks of sitting there of an evening, and just when you're sort of having, you know, your gentle, quiet time, just slowly introducing that. You might also find that you need to reward them and give them lots and lots of treats and encouragement. Do you like that? Maple's in the zone, so she's not even fussed. There we go. Ready? So giving them lots of rewards, pats, and making it as pleasant as an experience as possible is really, really important, and this first step that we need to take. Once your pet's really good with this, what I'd then recommend, is just sort of getting a finger and moving it around under the actual lip itself. Good girl. And you might find that giving them a little chin rub or an ear rub while you're doing that just makes it less of a confronting thing for them as well. Good girl. And again, you want to be doing that until they're sort of not really fazed by it and not sort of pulling away. And again, lots of rewards in that training phase is going to be really important. Oh, did you miss out? Good girl, Hazy. So Hazy, again, you can see she's pretty relaxed about it all. And again, I can sort of move my fingers around, lift her lips up. Once you reach that step, then you can sort of start to look at introducing the brushes themselves. I would always recommend using a dog toothpaste. We don't have any major preferences over the type of paste. It is important, however, to make sure that we're not using human toothpaste. The reason for that is that the fluoride content can be high enough that if these guys ingest it, it can be toxic. And they tend to not really like products that foam, and also the minty flavors that we tend to choose. So any dog or cat toothpaste is fine. The majority of the cleaning action is going to be done by the brush itself. So to start with, I'll often sort of just recommend putting a little bit on your finger. Maple loves the flavour of this one. And starting with sort of just moving it around inside the mouth. And again, you can see that she's so focused on actually licking the product that she's not fazed at all by what I'm doing. So this is the next sort of step that we want to do, and once your pet is really sort of calm about having that done, I would move on to the next step, which would be trying to use something like your finger sock. So again, you're just trying to steal the paste, aren't you? And get a little bit of product on the finger. Lie down. Come here. Good girl. So the other things that are important when you're doing this, I don't try and open their mouths. I'm basically just trying to slide the actual product in along the actual teeth themselves. And you can see that Maple's not fussed at all by this. She's more, again, focused on actually trying to sort of lick the product because it's something that she finds quite palatable and enjoyable. Good girl. There we go. Okay. So again, once we've got to a point where they're nice and tolerant of that, you can sort of take that step to a finger brush. Good girl. So again, I tend to sort of just hold their muzzle just so I can direct where it's facing. And I also use fingers to sort of just lift the lip gently as well and expose the teeth so I can get in there to brush. You ideally want to try and sort of get to the back, which I find sometimes these products are a little bit too bulky. So you can see here with Maple, she's a medium sort of sized dog. I can't get that past the lip. So these can actually limit the areas that you can clean and access. So moving on to a brush, I've found sort of that toddler's brush to be a good size with the nice soft bristles. Again, we just load our brush with a bit of paste. Good girl. Good girl. Let me get in there like that. Good girl. And you can see that that slips up the back of her mouth much more easily than using a product that's on my finger. And we essentially just want to sort of get up and brush the teeth in a very similar fashion to what you would be doing your own, just gentle back and forth movements along the gum line. Good girl.
So to start with, we generally recommend cleaning just the outer surfaces of the teeth. Once we get to a point where
they're nice and comfortable with that, you can attempt to clean the inner aspect of the teeth as well. That's something that does take a little bit of time and practice. What I find is useful is just sneaking the brush in behind the canine tooth. You're going to hate that today, aren't you? Yeah. Okay, there we go. Good girl. Okay. And she'll tend to sort of chew on it a little bit as well, but still tolerates it really nicely. The other area that I find really important, we might use Hazy for this, another really important aspect once you get to the point where they're tolerating the brushing really well. Excuse me, love. Good girl. So trying to get down the inside. Hazel's a little bit more calm and tolerant of that. Good girl. You can also just try and sneak the brush in the front and clean on the inside of the canine teeth as well. That's an area that we find gets a lot of disease and pocketing, and is an area that's often neglected with brushing. So once they get to a point where they're nice and calm and tolerant, they're the steps that we ideally want you to take if possible. Good girls. Right? So as you can see, with time, patience and the right approach, you can get to a point where you can brush their teeth, and it can be sort of a experience that is, I guess, maybe not pleasurable for them, but certainly something that they find enjoyable. Maple will often fall asleep while she's having her teeth brushed because she finds it to be something that is, you know, just part of the way we interact, and it's a relaxing part of our evening. The recommendation, or what we would recommend, is to ideally try and brush once a day. Part of that is developing a routine, which means you're more likely to stick to it, but also unless we're sort of getting in and removing the plaque layer off the teeth on a regular basis, and that is ideally once a day, we will start to find that there is more build-up within the mouth and a higher progression to, or increased sort of rate of periodontal disease reoccurring. Or I guess when you're looking at introducing brushing, we always recommend talking to your veterinarian first before doing so. We want to make sure that our pets' mouths are healthy and pain-free when we introduce brushing. We certainly don't want to do it if your pet already has gum disease or periodontal disease or a sore mouth. The reason for this is it's going to be an unpleasant experience for them, and essentially you're setting yourself up for failure. Brushing is something that we ideally want to introduce at a young age before periodontal disease sets in, or following a dental treatment where their mouths are at their healthiest, so we can maintain them at that level for as long as possible before their next clean. Something else we get asked a lot is, when is the best time to brush? Honestly, it's whenever it suits your schedule. The best thing is to establish a routine that's something that works for you and your pet. We tend to recommend doing it at a time when your pet's nice and calm. You can also do it before feeding. There's no real association with the timing of brushing and the effectiveness of the brushing. So it can be something that you can do before a meal, and that meal can be the reward for sitting there and having the brushing done. It can be, for us, we do it as part of our bedtime routine, that the girls sort of are nice and quiet and calm, and we tend to sort of brush our teeth before we move on to bed. So it's really just establishing a routine that works for you. If you want to find out more about caring for your dog's teeth, jump on our website, animaldental.com.au.